You dream of someone sleeping peacefully in his bed when a shadowy, gaunt figure silently enters the room. Approaching the bed, the figure leans down and sinks its fangs into the sleeping person. After a few moments, the pale figure rises, blood dripping down its chin. As colour flows back into the vampire's face and his features fill out, you recognise the face as your own. You awake, gasping, drenched in a cold sweat. Your hand reaches for your neck, fingers feeling 2 puncture wounds in the soft skin. You remember now. You had been delving in an ancient ruin when something ambushed you in the dark. You managed to slay the beast, but not before you were bitten. By the time you realised what had attacked you, it was already too late. Now you are far from help, stranded in the wilds, days away from any semblance of civilization. You can feel the vampire's poison coursing through your veins, beginning to change you from within. Perhaps it is too late already. As you lie, shivering with fever, your hair lank with cold sweat, you search your mind for all you know about these creatures, hoping beyond hope for any chance of salvation. But what you remember fills you with dread. You know all too well that vampires are no mere folktale. They are a blight on Tamriel, and you are about to become the latest victim of their ancient curse. Vampirism is no common disease, it is something far more. It is not spread by one pathogen alone, but by many different strains. Each strain of vampirism carries its own dark traits and unique characteristics. While all strains ultimately transform the victim into a vampire, the path to this cursed existence can differ in its onset, symptoms, and manifestations. The most common strains of vampirism are sanguinaire vampiris, porphyric haemophilia, and noxophilic sanguivoria. Both sanguinaire vampiris and porphyric haemophilia have a 3-day incubation period. Unless the victim receives a holy blessing or a potion of cure disease, they will become a vampire after 3 days, weakened by the sunlight. On the other hand, noxophilic sanguivoria is a rarer and more aggressive strain, causing heightened bloodlust and a quicker transformation. Vampires of this strain are not weakened by the daylight, but are instead strengthened during the nighttime. Whatever strain, the disease will cause the sufferer to undergo a terrifying transformation, losing their mortality and gaining an insatiable hunger for the blood of the living. But vampirism is more than just a physical transformation. It consumes the soul. Many who succumb to the disease find themselves twisted in mind as well as body, their humanity eroded by centuries of gnawing bloodlust. Others embrace their condition, reveling in the power and immortality it grants. And yet, all vampires are united by a singular truth. They are forever cursed to walk in the shadow of mortality, rejected by those they once called kin and fearing the tyranny of the sun. In Tamriel, the nature of vampirism varies greatly depending on the region and the bloodline. From the reclusive Volkihar, who dwell in the frozen wastes of Skyrim, to the enigmatic Order of Cyrodiil, each clan carries its own secrets, strengths, and curses. Some are cunning and calculating, ruling from the shadows, while others are little more than ravening beasts, driven by hunger alone. To those who fall prey to this affliction, the path forward is fraught with peril. Some seek a cure, risking life and sanity in search of ancient rituals or elusive alchemical remedies. Others, like you, find themselves at a crossroads, grappling with a fate that offers power at the cost of humanity. And so, as you lie in the dark, feverish and alone, you wonder, is there any hope of salvation? Or will you soon become the very thing you fear, a creature of the night, feared and hunted by all? Vampires are not merely predators of the night, they are nightmare given form. Their very existence a perversion of the cycle of life and death. They inspire fear not only because of what they are, but because of what they represent, a dark, immortal hunger that corrupts everything it touches. At the heart of their horror lies their insatiable thirst for blood. This is no mere craving, it is an all-consuming need, one that defines their existence. A vampire's hunger is unrelenting, driving them to hunt and feed no matter the cost. To their victims, the experience is harrowing, a sudden, inescapable attack that drains not only vitality, but dignity. And for the vampire, the act of feeding is both ecstasy and agony, as each sip of blood reminds them of the humanity they have lost and the monstrosity they have become. Physically, vampires straddle the line between beauty and horror. Their forms are often unnaturally elegant, with sharp, angular features. Their skin is typically pale or tinged with a haunting purple hue, and their eyes may glow blood red when their hunger is at its peak. Fangs are a telltale sign, with some vampires bearing 2 sharpened canine teeth and others boasting 4. Immune to aging and disease, vampires exist in a state of undeath, unable to die from natural causes, but still vulnerable to injury and violence. Their undead physiology grants them an immense strength and vitality that defies mortal limits, a speed that outpaces the eye, and a mastery of the mystic arts that allows them to tap into unnatural powers. Some are even said to be able to vanish into mist, summon storms, and command the weak-minded, all powers that make them formidable predators. But for all their might, vampires are far from invincible. Their immortality is tempered by an array of vulnerabilities that tether them to mortality. The sun, the symbol of life, is their greatest enemy, burning their flesh and forcing them to live in the shadows. Holy symbols repel them, silver sears their skin, and fire reduces their cursed bodies to ash. These weaknesses render them creatures of darkness, eternally exiled from the warmth of the sun. Yet perhaps their most chilling trait is their ability to propagate their curse. A single bite can doom a victim to the same tormented existence, creating a chain of suffering that stretches across generations. Each new vampire carries with them the anguish of transformation, forced to wrestle with the loss of their humanity and the demands of their new nature. It is a cycle of death and rebirth, ensuring that the shadow of vampirism never fades from Tamriel. And yet, there is a strange, almost poetic beauty in their monstrosity. Their movements are fluid, their presence magnetic, their gaze hypnotic. They haunt the darkest alleys, the oldest ruins, and even the courts of kings, spreading unease wherever they tread. To society, they are an ever-present reminder of fragility, a predator that can lurk anywhere, even in the form of a trusted friend or a beloved family member. In their monstrous elegance lies their greatest terror. They are not wholly alien, but disturbingly familiar. Vampires are a twisted reflection of ourselves, embodying the darkest desires, fears, and ambitions of mortals. They are the ultimate contradiction, alive yet dead, beautiful yet horrifying, powerful yet cursed. The origins of vampirism in Tamriel are steeped in sorrow, a dark mockery of life and death shaped by the will of Molag Bal, the Daedric prince of domination and the father of vampirism. It is a story that begins not with power, but with pain, as the Daedric prince sought to leave his mark upon the world in the most grotesque way imaginable. Lemay Bal, the first vampire, was once a mortal, a priestess of Arkay, the god of life and death, but she became a tragic victim of Molag Bal and his hatred for Arkay. Her transformation into a creature of the night began with an act of unspeakable cruelty. According to legend, Lemay was brutally defiled by Molag Bal during a dark ritual, her body broken and left for dead in the wilds of Skyrim. What followed was a perversion of the cycle she once revered. The comatose Lemay was discovered by a group of nomadic Needs, who took her in and cared for her wounds. Yet soon they noticed her injuries were healing unnaturally fast. Horrified, the nomads attempted to burn Lemay, but as the pyre was lit, she awoke in a state of undeath. Confused and enraged, Lemay massacred the nomads, feasting upon their flesh. After the red mist had lifted, Lemay began to return to her senses. Disgusted by what she had done, she desperately prayed to Arkay for help, but he did not answer. Embittered by Molag Bal's attack and Arkay's abandonment, Lemay cursed their names and swore to seek revenge against them both. In this moment, the curse of blood was born, the horrific legacy of the father of vampires. Lemay, consumed by fury and despair, unleashed her vengeance upon the living, spreading her affliction to mortals who would become the first of her kind. From her dark progeny, the strains of vampirism began to spread, each taking on unique characteristics shaped by the cursed blood coursing through their veins. At its core, vampirism is a paradox, a state of unending hunger and unnatural vitality, where life and death collide. For those afflicted, it is both a curse and a source of power, granting immortality and strength at the cost of one's humanity. Vampires are neither truly alive nor dead. Their existence is a suspended nightmare, a reminder of Molag Bal's contempt for the natural order. This duality is at the heart of the vampiric tragedy. Many who succumb to the curse begin as unwilling victims, transformed against their will and forced to wrestle with the moral weight of their survival. Feeding becomes a necessity, but every drop of blood taken erodes the remnants of their former selves. Some embrace the darkness, reveling in their newfound power, while others cling desperately to their humanity, striving to control the beast within. Vampirism also serves as a mirror to society's fears, the loss of control, the corruption of the soul, and the insatiable hunger for power. Vampires lurk not only in the shadows of the cities and the wilds, but also of our mortal minds, embodying the dread of what one might become when stripped of all restraint, of what you might become. Soon you fall into another dream. You see a beautiful young woman holding an infant to her breast. It is only as you draw near that you realise that the woman is a desiccated corpse and the child is purple and bloated, dying of plague. As mother and child crumble to dust, you awaken once more. As you lie in the darkness, your mind turns to the creature that bit you. You remember that not all vampires are created equal. The blood of Molag Bal flows in many forms, each strain producing unique horrors that stalk the shadows of Tamriel. These subtypes of vampirism embody different facets of terror, from the refined and powerful to the feral and mindless. Among vampires, the pure-blooded are an elite class. Born not of infection from another vampire, but of direct creation from Molag Bal, they possess an unmatched power and status. Female purebloods, such as Serana, are known as the Daughters of Cold Harbour. They carry the curse as a mark of distinction among their kind, wielding abilities far beyond those of ordinary vampires. Purebloods often look down upon their half-breed descendants, considering them diluted shadows of their own majesty. The ancient Volkihar clan stands as a testament to their dominance. Lord Harkon and his family were bestowed their power directly by Molag Bal, granting them immense strength and the ability to control their transformation into monstrous forms. Pure-blooded vampires are rare and feared, their lineage often forming the foundation of the various vampiric bloodlines that plague Tamriel. The Vampire Lord is a pinnacle of vampiric evolution, a form granted only to a chosen few. These beings embody the apex of vampiric power, able to shift between a human guise and a terrifying bat-like monstrosity. Their abilities are vast, from levitation to summoning swarms of bats, and their blood carries the potential to create more of their kind. Vampire lords are not just monsters, they are tyrants. Their dominance over lesser vampires ensures their status as apex predators, and their shape-shifting forms often reflect the unique traits of their bloodlines. A rival to the Vampire Lord, the Blood Scion emerges from a dark ritual crafted by Lemay Baal herself. Through the rite of the Scion, a mortal infected with noxophilic sanguivoria undergoes a transfusion to replace their blood entirely with Lemay's own. Blood Scions are less vulnerable to traditional vampiric weaknesses, such as fire, making them formidable foes, a testament to Lemay's twisted ingenuity. Blood Knights are vampires taken to extremes, their strength and size amplified through the absorption of power from other vampires. These creatures are brutes, their raw physicality matched only by their struggle to suppress their animalistic instincts. Often in the service of vampire lords, Blood Knights embody vampirism's bestial nature. At the lowest rung of the vampiric hierarchy lie the Blood Fiends, feral creatures stripped of reason and consumed by hunger. When a vampire starves for too long or loses control of their mind, they devolve into these ravenous beasts, driven solely by the need to feed. Beneath all lie the vampire thralls, mortals who have been enslaved by vampires to bend to their will. Some are even kept as cattle, reduced to little more than blood bags, kept alive only so their masters will have a fresh supply of blood. You wonder, in time, which of these monsters you will become, as you drift away into another troubled sleep. In your dream, you open your eyes to a beautiful blue sky. The sun is bright, but you feel cold, even a bit damp. You draw a breath, but begin to cough, as you expel blood and dirt that you've inhaled into your lungs. As you try to draw another, you see a shovel of dirt being emptied onto your face. The sunlight grows fainter as you view it through the soil that covers your body. You would scream, but your mouth fills with dirt before you can make a sound. You jolt awake once more. You can see nothing, hear nothing. How long have you been here, in the darkness? 1 day? Perhaps 2? There isn't long left now, until you join the ranks of the undead. The vampire that bit you was alone, but you know there could be more out there in the shadows. To the uninitiated, vampires are often thought of as solitary predators, lurking in the dark corners of the world, on an endless quest to sate their unending thirst. But you know better. You have learned that they have built hidden communities across Tamriel, bound by bloodlines and hierarchies as ancient as the curse itself. Across the continent, vampire clans and covens have established intricate parallel societies, each defined by unique powers, traditions, and weaknesses. These groups range from shadowy manipulators to feral predators, illustrating the diverse and dangerous ways in which vampirism has taken root. Among the most infamous of Tamriel's vampire clans are the Volkihar, whose icy reign extends across the frozen reaches of Skyrim. Ancient legends tell of these vampires dwelling in hidden lairs beneath frozen lakes, said to be able to reach through the ice without breaking it, pulling unsuspecting victims down into the cold depths below. Lord Harkon ruled the Volkihar, his court dwelling within an ancient castle on a remote island off the northern coast. Despite their monstrous power, the Volkihar are far from mindless savages. They maintain an aura of nobility, with courtly intrigue and strict hierarchies defining their society. Their thralls, often kept in a state of perpetual servitude, serve as both sustenance and tools in their schemes. Yet their terrifying facade hides the same vulnerability shared by most vampires, a weakness under the sun, although they do not burn to ash as others do. In ancient times, another coven lurked deep below Skyrim, in the depths of Blackreach. The Night Hollow clan was one of the first vampire clans to emerge, almost as old as the curse itself. Once, they ruled the Reach from their subterranean kingdom, and were known as the Night Lords by the fearful men above. They feasted on the power of the Dark Heart, a piece of the primal void which had become trapped on Nirn. They became reliant on its void energy for survival, becoming unable to gain nourishment through blood. Once they were severed from the heart's power, they slowly became feral, disappearing from the pages of recorded history, serving as a warning for clans who stray too far from their vampiric nature. In contrast to the Volkihar's cold brutality is the calculated sophistication of the vampires of Cyrodiil. The Cyrodiilic vampirum order has mastered the art of concealment, blending seamlessly into mortal society. They are experts in political manipulation, using their influence to steer the course of Tamrielic history from behind the scenes. The order honours 2 patrons, Molag Bal, their progenitor, and Clavicus Vile, whose cunning gifts aid in controlling their bloodlust and securing their social status. This duality reflects their approach to vampirism itself, a careful balance of indulgence and discipline. While the Order's members view themselves as the pinnacle of vampiric evolution, they remain wary of other enlightened clans who might challenge their power. Morrowind's clans embody the harshness of the land they inhabit. 3 clans are known to dwell in the land of Vardenfell. The Iundai, a bloodline of vampire mages, wield their powers to hypnotize and manipulate their prey, weaving an aura of dark elegance. In contrast, the Burney are stealthy predators, hunting from the shadows with precision and cunning. Finally, the Quarry embrace raw strength, relying on brute force to dominate their foes. Each of these clans operates in isolation, distrustful even of other vampires. Their strongholds are scattered across abandoned Daedric ruins and forgotten Dunmer fortresses, where they jealously guard their secrets. Across Tamriel, vampire clans adapt in unique and unsettling ways. In the swamps of Blackmarsh, the Wet Fang vampires practice a patient, methodical predation, keeping victims alive in magical comas to feed on their blood over time. In the land of Elsewhere, Khajiiti vampires exhibit a blend of cultural adaptation and mysticism. The Hollowfang clan, adept in blood magic and alchemy, once attempted to drain the blood of a dragon, demonstrating both audacity and the mastery of forbidden arts. The Tanars Alvit, or the Night Stalkers, maintained an uneasy truce with the living Khajiit, guarding their dead in exchange for blood offerings, an example of rare cooperation between mortals and vampires. In the forests of Valenwood, vampires are as varied as the creatures of the wild. The Bonsamu vampires are indistinguishable from ordinary Bosmer, unless illuminated by candlelight. The Yakef devour their victims whole, while the Telboth take the place of children, preying on whole families from within. Though united by a shared curse, what divides these clans are their methods of survival. Some, like the Order of Cyrodiil, cloak their predation in civility, presenting a veneer of refinement to mask their monstrous nature. Others, such as the Quarra and the Hollowfang, embrace their savagery, viewing power as its own justification. Despite their differences, vampire clans represent an enduring force in Tamriel, adapting to the challenges of each era with a ruthless determination. They are a reminder that even in the face of division, the curse of blood binds its victims together in a web of shared hunger, secrecy, and survival. Across Tamriel, the shadow of vampirism inspires fear, revulsion, and a relentless drive for eradication. Throughout history, vampire hunters have risen to the challenge of confronting these predators, driven by the desire to protect or a lust for vengeance, waging an eternal war against an enemy that hides in plain sight. The Dawn Guard's origins lies in tragedy. A father, unable to kill his vampiric son, created a fortress to imprison him. Over time, this prison would become the staging ground for one of Tamriel's most renowned vampire hunting groups. Despite their noble reputation, rumours of the Dawn Guard's darker practices add a layer of ambiguity to their legacy. Are they truly our protectors? Or perhaps they are monsters in their own right? The Death Hunters, meanwhile, brought ruthless efficiency to their war against the unnatural. During the chaos of the interregnum, this diverse group of hunters combined their skills to track and slay both vampires and werewolves. Though their methods were often brutal, it is hard to argue with their results. The Vigil of Stendarr, a more devout force, views their crusade as a holy mandate. Wielding the divine authority of Stendarr, they roam the wilds of Tamriel, purging evil with an unrelenting zeal. Though initially founded to root out Daedra worship, their remit has expanded to include all abominations, whether vampires, werewolves, or necromancers. While their faith is their greatest strength, their black and white morality often leads to clashes with those who view vampires as more than just mindless beasts. For vampire hunters, their task is as perilous as it is consuming. To think like a predator is to risk becoming one, abandoning love, family, and hope in a relentless pursuit of the hunt. Some embrace the danger and sacrifice, yet others fall to the very curse they seek to destroy. But vampires are not just foes to be slain. Many are intelligent beings, capable of love, hatred, and ambition. Vampires like Serana and Count Janus Hasseldor have proven themselves to be as worthy as any mortal. So each encounter will force a hunter to grapple with the morality of their mission. Does hunting vampires truly protect Tamriel, or is it just another means of persecution? As you lie in the darkness, feeling the curse beginning to take hold, you cannot help but wonder, which of these hunters will come for you after you've turned? You dream of walking through the cold night air. Your body cries for blood, having not fed for days. Weakly, you stumble to a small pool. As you bend down to it, you see that it is not water in the pool, but warm, fresh blood, steam rising off of it. You lower your head to drink, but cannot open your mouth. As you realize in horror that your lips have been sewn shut, a pair of cold white hands reach out from the pool and draw you under. You awake from the dream, but you feel different. Your memories are hazy, but your hunger is gnawing at your bones. The world feels different now, more alive, as shadows become clearer and sounds sharper. You stumble to a nearby pool of water, desperate for answers. You recognize it is the same pool from your dream, but it is real this time, you are sure of it. Looking down, staring back at you, is not your face, but a gaunt and sallow visage, blood-red eyes glowing in sunken sockets. With a creeping sense of horror, you realize that the transformation is complete. And now the question arises, is there a way back? There have long been whispers of cures, though they are shrouded in uncertainty and danger. The Dunmer of Morrowind often deem vampirism incurable, yet Galor Rathari, an infected buoyant armiger, claimed otherwise. According to his papers, a grim pact with Molag Bal led to his cure, but the cost was immense. A terrifying ordeal akin to being carved apart by knives from inside. For others, the price they've paid has been even steeper. Cures are not only rare, they are perilous. Legends speak of witches from the Iliac Bay who crafted potions with rare and macabre ingredients: bloodgrass, nightshade, Argonian blood, and vampire ash. This concoction once cured Rona Hasseldor, wife of the Count of Skingrad, but her salvation came at the cost of her life, as the cure turned her mortal frailty into a swift death. Phalion, a wizard of the Fourth Era, offered another path. His ritual, invoking the powers of oblivion through a black soul gem, could reverse even the most ancient vampiric transformations. His method was even said to work on the legendary Daughters of Coldharbour, defying the common belief that vampirism was incurable after centuries. Other cures blur the lines between salvation and damnation. The destruction of a bloodline's progenitor or bloodfather can cure every afflicted member of that line, though it often results in their death as age catches up with them. Others have turned to Hircine, exchanging one curse for another by embracing his offer of lycanthropy. But the pursuit of a cure raises profound questions. Does it truly offer salvation, or is it a denial of the power and immortality that vampirism offers? For those who accept this curse, the hunger becomes a part of them, sharpening their senses, extending their life, and forging them into something beyond mortal. Is seeking a cure an act of defiance against the transformation, or an admission of weakness? For many, the immortal blood is not a curse, but a gift, and one that should not be easily spurned. As you wrestle with the horror of your own reflection, one thing is certain: the path to salvation, if it exists, will demand everything of you. Do you dare to seek it, or will you surrender to your affliction and embrace the darkness within? You dream of long days spent basking in the sunlight of your native lands. You feel the warmth and the heat, and feel your body become refreshed. Then you awaken, knowing it was but a dream.